This video is going to address the changes made to the social construct PowerPoint. And we're looking at this particular piece of legislation here that says social status is going to be determined by the mother. This is 1662. This is going to be one of the slave codes that get the African to permanent involuntary hereditary servitude. So in the image to the left, you have the slave master who is free, the female slave who is a slave, and the relationship between the two, even if it's forced, is going to lead to the production of a free child because social status is determined by the male. The problem is, after this law is passed, it will now be determined by the female, which means that for slave women, they are going to potentially be the victim of assault, whereas in the image to the right, now we're looking at another issue because this one involves a free white woman, and this scenario is a slave male. In this scenario, you have to understand that there's a practice called coverture, and coverture said that your social status would be determined by your partner. In this scenario here, if this individual is a slave, that could potentially mean that the woman in question here is also going to be treated as such. This is going to act as a deterrent, and in a scenario like the one on the right, it's probably in the female's best interest to say that the male here raped her or this was against her will. The end result would potentially be that this individual is going to either be sold or killed, and the white woman's virtue is going to remain intact. What coverture is eventually going to do is it's going to create a deterrent to prevent the white woman from engaging in any sort of relationship with the black male. And in a situation where the individuals are caught in a relationship, that would potentially mean that this individual's life is going to be threatened, which increases the likelihood that the white female is going to have to argue that this was against her desire. Now we're going to look up Susan Smith and Natalie Holloway, and we want to think about these two questions here as we find some basic information about both parties. Here we have an image of LeBron James in Vogue magazine, and this led to a lot of criticism where people were talking about the magazine cover, and it went so far as to kind of get this particular response where these comparisons were being made. And again, the point here is that the white woman is off limits to the black male. These are the results from a Google search. Should black men trust white women? BLM, referencing Black Lives Matter. And here we have some articles that address that particular point. On this slide, what we're looking at is this particular grouping of human beings. In this scenario, we have a slave master and his wife. When they produce a child, this child is going to be free. However, the slave master could potentially have a mistress. The mistress would be hated, disliked by the wife here because it's confirmation that he's potentially cheating on her. So these two are going to be at odds. If these two are in a relationship where they've managed to jump the broom in a slave marriage, this individual is virtually powerless to prevent the horrific act of assault from taking place and not being able to protect his wife. And the child that's produced in this scenario would be a slave, and the child that is going to be produced when these two engage in a relationship is going to be a slave as well. Think about these questions here. For further information on this topic, see the two books, White Women, Black Men by Martha Hodes and Sharon Block's Rape and Sexual Power in Early America.